Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Man's Noble Beer Reviews. Today I have another beer from Bell's Brewing Company out of Comstock, Michigan. If you notice that the size of the screen or anything looks weird on this, that's because I just got a new tablet that I'm recording on now instead of using I was using my cell phone before. But this should be a lot better in the long run. I'm just getting used to it. But so this beer is called Lighthearted Ale. So I'm sure you can tell by the name of that and the label if you've ever had their Two Hearted Ale, which is their flagship beer, their flagship IPA. This is a session version of it. And I one might even call it a super session because it's pretty low in alcohol compared to even most session IPAs or session beers. It's 3.7. So they don't even label it as session IPA. It says low cal IPA. And it has the calories on here, which I don't think they have for most other beers, which is 110, which for beer is pretty low. You know, if you're trying to watch calories specifically, you probably wouldn't be too bad off drinking a couple of these, but a lot of people they might drink 12 of them because they're only that low. The carbs are 8.7, which is still pretty high for a beer that's 3.7, to be honest. So I'm curious how this is going to play out for the target audience. I don't know. I just wanted to try it because I didn't care necessarily about the calorie count and the carbs. I just wanted if it tastes somewhat like Two Hearted and it's only 3.7, that just makes it an awesome all day drinking session beer. So that's really what I'm looking for, and I hope that's what we get. I don't know. We'll see. I have not had this before. I'm drinking out of my Hop Slam glass, which I figure was appropriate because that's kind of like double Two Hearted, even though it's not because now they made double Two Hearted. But it's in the realm, and it's a Bell's glass, and it's a Bell's IPA glass. So I'm going to crack it open and see what we got here. And I'm anticipating, at 3.8%, I'm anticipating this being like very, very light. So I wonder, I'm going to have to mess with the camera on this because it might just be from where I'm sitting and everything. And I can see that my face looks pretty dark in this camera compared to my phone. But even this beer, this looks probably like an orange color. Well, maybe not. It looks like kind of like an orange color in the screen, but it's definitely lighter than that. It's definitely not as light as like Coors Light or Miller Light or something like that. But it's I would say it's a golden color at best. It's definitely not anything approaching like orange. With a really nice fluffy white head that's not going anywhere. So it's definitely not as effervescent as Two Hearted is. But I want to see if it says on the can because I think I did look this up, and I apologize that I don't have it right in my back pocket. But I'm guessing there is Centennial in this, considering regular Two Hearted is all Centennial. But I thought I remember seeing this was Galaxy and something else, and I'm guessing the something else is Centennial to keep it close to something similar, at least flavor wise, even if the alcohol is way less. But I definitely don't get Centennial out of this. To me, Centennial is it's not super dank. It's not like Columbus or Simcoe or Tomahawk. But it does generally have like an earthy, old school character to it. And this is more citrusy. It is a little floral, which Centennial is very floral. So I will say that there is part of that. But it's also more like citrusy and almost a little like pineapple-y, which you don't usually get from Centennial. But the aroma isn't super robust, but it does smell hop driven and not nothing bad about it, so I'm pretty excited. I'm assuming this is going to have some decent flavor for being so low ABV based on the aroma. Yeah. Um, it actually, so definitely not an IPA, but it's not called an IPA. It says light-hearted ale, right? So it's not real. Well, I lied. It says low-cal IPA. So it is described as an IPA. It's not very bitter at all. So, it's definitely way less bitter than Two Hearted. It does have some nice earthy floral hop character. There is definitely some like two row like pilsnery malt, little crackery. Um, I would say it's more like a pale ale than an IPA, but that like because it's balanced in flavor. But that doesn't make it a bad beer. It's actually very nice. To me, it kind of reminds me of a smaller version. Like if Dogfish Head did a low cal 60 minute, which I think they actually did. I don't think it was called 60 minute, but I know they did a low cal IPA. If they did a low cal version of 60 minute, that's what this reminds me of. The hop profile on this reminds me of 60 minute for whatever reason. I have no idea why that stuck in my head because I haven't had that beer in years and years. Um, but the biggest compliment to this beer is the body. It is the flavors are fairly light. It's not watery, but they're fairly light. But the body is very significant. Like I would never guess that this was sub 5% based on the body. The alcohol presence is like non-existent, so that kind of hints at it a little bit. But the body itself is really nice and creamy and frothy. Which I'm sure that's being driven by the malt, you know. But so is this like an amazing IPA at 3.7 flavor wise? No. Um, but if you were to tell me find any beers in general that you like better than this, that are sub 4%, and I'm going to say and fairly cheap. Because Fauna Flora does some of those kvases that are fantastic, but they're not. I mean, they're not expensive, but they're definitely way more expensive than this. They're probably like 2 or 3 times the price of this when you consider price per ounce. So throwing those out the window, if you just consider things that are, it could be maybe $1 more in can than this, but not more than that. The only thing I can think of that's sub 4% that I would say I like better than this, that's in the same price range, is extra. I think it's called Extra Dry. The Sake Saison from Stillwater. That's honestly one of my favorite beers of all time, and definitely one of my favorite session. Definitely my favorite session beer. Period. That's the only beer I can think of that's sub. That gets distribution at least. It isn't from one off from a brewery or something. That's sub 4%. That's not a super weird beer that's like really expensive. That's better than this. So when you put those factors in, I would say this is worth a buy. I don't know what this costs because I bought it with a bunch of other stuff at the same time through like a curbside thing. So they just gave me the total. I don't know what it was, but I can't imagine that this can was more than $3, like at a bottle shop. If you buy a 12 pack, there's no way the 12 pack's $36. Granted, I guarantee you a 12 pack of this is like $15 max. And if that's the case, I could drink this out on a boat all day. So really, if you consider what their competitors are, bigger breweries, especially if you're looking at Michigan specifically, Founders is definitely one of them. I would probably rather drink this than Founders all day because it's lower ABV and it's a little more balanced. It's not as bitter, so I think I could drink this more in the long run than that beer. So that just puts it in perspective. So based on the price and the low ABV, obviously, if you don't want if you're not looking for a session beer, there's no reason to buy this. It's not on its own. If you don't include alcohol, I would not call this a buy. But for what it's supposed to be, you have to take that into consideration because that's the whole point of it. So for what it is, if you want a really light sessionable beer, this one has a pretty good flavor, and I could drink this all day. So I'm gonna give this a buy. But I think that's all I got on this one. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think, and I look forward to doing the next one. Thanks.